Hello guys, David Vos here on a beautiful walk on a beautiful summer day. No clouds hardly, a couple of clouds, tufts of clouds. And since I'm beginning the practice of walking every morning, trying to get into that habit. I used to walk quite a bit on my little walks, and I didn't do it every day. I didn't. It was like every 3 days or something. I would go try and take a little walk, but that was nice, and I knew it was important to walk every day. Something I enjoyed doing as well. But I've learned how important walking is as a part of our life. In modern life, we get to a place where we don't have time to do the things that are natural. And the natural things would normally be things that we would love doing and also would be healthy for us at the same time, And so we're not getting the health benefits of the things that nature provides. So it's a natural rhythm, life cycles. We've got to learn to become part of nature and not try and control it. We can't change the world. We have to look for the things that are in the world. I'm leaving my place right now, walking down the power line, and there's a little road kind of trail that I'm going to follow, and we're going to walk. But I wanted to tell you some very important things as a follow-up to the video we did yesterday, and I think we'll probably do 2 or 3 videos on this. It's very important, more important than anything in the world. We need a living constitution, which we have in the United States Constitution, but it isn't the final thing, because we know that in the book of Ezekiel it does tell us that there will come a time when we will have a covenant of peace that will actually be made with the animals. A kingdom of peace will be given to the whole world, not just humans. So there's different aspects to the covenant. Christ came and brought a covenant, but if you notice, he says, I make this covenant with you, those who have followed me, and you will sit upon thrones with me in the recreation. So that's one covenant that we're under now for those who are called and chosen, the elect. But once the period of time that we're about to go through is over, and the last or the final judgment occurs, there's going to be another covenant made with all the world, even with the animals. There will be no more death. And so I'm looking forward to that. And it's interesting because it seems to indicate that King David's going to come back to the earth and reincarnate. Daniel, Job, and others. The Bible mentions Jeremiah, of course John, and all the saints will be here and will establish a kingdom. But this kingdom is going to have a covenant with the animals that they no longer die. And I imagine that we're going to need a constitution in a sense, or at least an unspoken one. I mean, we don't need anything written down because that would mean it is written, we must do it, you know. It's like we're following some arbitrary rules. And we don't need to do that. Because there are already, it's like you get thrown into a river. Or you jump into a river. And it's got a natural flow. And rivers are pretty swift. You know? That rabbit. The dogs didn't see him, thank goodness. Boy, these rabbits are getting huge. Like big old jackrabbits around here. I didn't notice them being that big. I think they've gotten bigger. There's more water or something. There's been more rain. And, you know, it's real beautiful out this year. But it was another rabbit. We need to at least acknowledge the natural rhythms, not laws. We don't write them down. We speak, the elders speak from learning, from wisdom over the campfire to the youth. That's what we need to get back to. But if you jumped into a river, there's a natural flow. You can try to turn around in the midst of the river and swim upstream. You might want to do that for a minute. You're not going to get anywhere. You'll just be swimming, keeping up with the river flow. If it's too swift, you'll never even keep up. You know? It's kind of futile, but you can do it. But you'll wear yourself out. And that's just not logical. Nobody's going to do that for very long. So what we need to do is go with the flow, and we're going to get somewhere. We're going somewhere, or there's no point in being there if we're not going somewhere. And trying to go the way we want to go, regardless of the way the flow is going, is fruitless. And coming up with a set of rules for someone in a river, you know, well, hold your feet this way and bring one arm up laterally first and then the second one, and kick with the back legs, left foot first. Breathe this way and that way. None of that. We ain't got time for that. We're just trying to have fun. We're just trying to live. The purpose is joy. That's what the purpose of life is. Oh, I've got to get under this fence because they put this new fence up and block this little trail. This is just a cattle rancher fence. And there's no cattle in here at the moment. They're in another area. But anyway, let me get under here real quick. Hold on. Nice. Hi, babe. Okay. Just checking to see if this camera's still on. What is that? Stump. So, you know, rules are for fools because, you know, it's kind of like in boxing. You might have some plans of how you're going to go about defeating your opponent, but when you get punched in the face, all the rules go out the window. Now you're in a fight. And so now you have to just use your instinct. You know, you've got a split second. You've just been hit in the jaw. You feel like you're going to pass out. You know, you're blanking out. You're seeing stars. And you're so tired you can barely stand up on your feet. And your mind has to immediately think, well, is this worth it? Am I going to be able to win? Is there a possibility? This is really hard. Stay on my feet. I'm going to give up. And a lot of people do. They just give up and they fall down. It's that, I'm done. I'm not going to win. And I don't want to get knocked out on live television. So I'm just going to take a knee. But you can't tell that person that's a rule that you have to take a knee. Depends on how bad you want to win. There are people that can find the strength in that one split moment, that belief in themselves. I know this probably isn't a very good analogy, boxing, but anyway. That you just find that strength within you, and there's no rules to it. In fact, most people have already counted you down, counted you out. But there's no real, you can't make rules to life. How I'm going to walk from here to that tree, there's got to be a rule. I've got to step this way and that way. First of all, what's the point of rules? The only point of life is me. I'm the boss. Us, humans. Our reason for living is to have fun. It's to enjoy our lives. And if you look at this world, everything in it is designed for us. A gift, a miraculous, like coinkydink, that it just is all there for us. It's provided for us. By what? By who? Well, that's a video for another day. But what we want to do today is we got to start off just assuming that we're living in a paradise, that we're living in a beautiful, loving, giving universe that is just there as our comforter, as our helper, as our joy, our environment that we can live in and take the resources and make something out of it for ourselves and for our families and for one and all for one. We're all part of this system. We work together. And it's not like, well, that's a rule. You've got to work together. No, we want to. You don't think a man and a woman want to embrace? You don't think they enjoy that whole scenario? And what comes of it? What comes of this desire? What comes of this decision that is not really something we have to sit down and figure out and come up with the pros and the cons? Shall I touch her? Shall I not? We're gonna do it. We follow the flow. The force is strong. Obi-Wan. The force is very strong. And you cannot, you can resist it. Like I said, you be in a river, you can turn around, try and swim upstream. But it's just fruitless. Don't resist the force. The force is what? It is the natural laws of this world. The natural flow. The energy is the wind. The word wind is what's translated spirit. And the spirit is very strong, and it's a harmless and helpful force. It moves you along in the right direction. The only direction, the direction of what? Of mind. The direction of seeking joy. The direction of harmony, peace. The wind can be violent, but when it blows, it shakes off the seeds and they plant. And you see, I mean, orgasm is beautiful, but the dance is really the fun part. And that's what life is. And this is why the Old Testament is completely wrong. And that's what humans come up with first in their lower instinctual nature. They want to control each other. They want to be angry. They want to follow their lower gut instinct. And that kicks in naturally. It's part of life. If you don't have wisdom, then you're going to have, the guidance of the lower ego is going to kick in if you don't have access to the higher reality, and if you don't go with the flow, if you don't learn to just give up and realize that thing that makes you desire to hate, or that makes you want to get vengeance on your neighbor or punish people, is based on lies and deception, ignorance, that you don't have wisdom yet. So you wouldn't know. You assume, you look at the plants in the valley and you say, well, what are we going to do here? They need water. We figured that out. We've been here long enough to know that. So what we're going to do is try and force the water uphill. You can't do that. You have to have faith and believe that the universe wants the water to get to the plant. And it's already provided for you. Yeah, you have the will. You're the willer. You can stop in the middle of the river and try to swim upstream, but you're just going to have so many problems. It's not going to last very long. I mean, nature itself will eventually force you. In that sense, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of a parallel with the divine, who is love. And love is a willingness and a compassion. It's a goodness. It's the perfect bond of union. So it is a bond. It does force things, but it forces it naturally. It's a perfect bond. You see, there are two different kinds of bonds. We can have an unnatural bond. We can have forced slavery, coercion, vengeance, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, law and order. Or we can have the laws of nature that everybody's agreed to, that everybody silently and collectively choose every day. When we see snow falling, we don't say, boy, I wish I could get that snow to fly upward, right? I don't want the snow. Well, we know that we need the snow. We silently agree to the fact that we need moisture. We need temperatures. We need seasons to grow our food. We also know that there's going to be resistance, but it's going to be gentle. And we agree to all of this because we have to agree to life. It's not like we have to, sign a paper and sign our name at the bottom line or anything. It's just simply a silent acknowledgement. We willingly and gleefully accept life's rules. I mean, it's rules like, if you would like to walk, you may. If you do not want to walk, you don't have to, but you might die. But you can choose to live or die. And the only reason why walking and living and breathing is life as opposed to, I want to just lay down and die, is because what makes the choice is you. You're making the choice because it's what you want. So it's a choice based on what you need and what you want. So I've been thinking about all these things and trying to, I don't believe we need a constitution, as I said. We're about to go into the restored earth, the restoration of all things spoken of by the mouth of all the holy prophets. And in the past, we had what was called bond paper and certificates and covenants. The old covenant was an agreement, kind of in duress. We signed in duress or without knowledge, in ignorance, because we didn't have understanding. We couldn't accept light. We rejected the light, but not because we purposely or knowingly decided we didn't want to live. Well, we didn't know what the light was, So it scared us. It was bright. We couldn't look directly into it. We didn't understand it. We couldn't perceive it fully. So we said, I don't understand this love and goodness and the flow. I don't know how it could be so easy. It's got to be harder than that. So we had to have trial and error. So we made agreements and forced-willed contracts. That turned out to not work out so well. There's a lot more violence and evil in the world now that we have law. There's more rape, murder, war, pillaging, famine, death because of law. We forgot to just go with the flow. So what is the first thing that we need in our Constitution, which is an unwritten agreement that we all choose based on the fact that we like life and we want this? We can always opt out. We can just sit in a corner and die, right? But no one ultimately, deep down within, because it's the nature of being to want to live. So really, it's not really, in that sense, a choice, because it's like saying, does a stick have the choice to become a rock? No. But here's the thing, a stick would never want to be a rock, because a stick, by its very nature, is a stick. As long as it's a stick, it doesn't have any desire to perform as a rock. Now, I suppose you could say, well, what if the stick didn't want to be a stick anymore and he wanted to be a rock? What if a boy didn't want to be a boy anymore and he wants to be a girl? What if I don't want to be nice and I want to hurt people? What about that, Dave? Well, see, the thing is, you don't really want to hurt people. That's what we were just saying. It's just the reality. It's not even a law. It's not a choice. You just are a boy. And you have to embrace what you are. Otherwise, you're in a delusional reality that's not even reality. You're messing up the order and the natural order. There has to be some order. You can't say, well, we don't want order, Dave. We're tired of this order thing. We just want chaos. Well, you're always welcome to chaos. You can start thinking negative thoughts and what ifs and all this and get discouraged and lose hope. And, you can do that for a period of time. It's your choice. But you'll find after a while the depression and pain and darkness and evil doesn't suit you. It's not what you want. Not really. You just didn't know. You were ignorant. Okay, so in the new restored earth, what would be the first most important thing? Well, it's kind of like, where do you begin, in a circle along the outside peripheral. You start anywhere, you come back to the same spot. But let's start with air. It's invisible, right? You can't see it, you can feel it. And it's everywhere. powerful. It's the source of a lot of functions in the universe, planting and cooling, weather, dispersing of seeds and shaking off the dust and cleaning the world. All kinds of things the wind does. But it's an invisible thing and we need it. And without air, we would cease to exist within, I would say, 1 minute. You could maybe hold your breath for 2 or 3 minutes if you're Houdini. But you're going to die. You're going to die if you don't breathe. But here's the amazing part, guys. I'm not going to force you to breathe, and Jesus isn't going to force you to breathe. You're going to want to. You have a mechanism within you. It's a natural mechanism that you breathe without even being aware of it. You don't have to think about each thought before you breathe. It's just natural. Thank goodness, because if we had to concentrate on where we get our air and how the purity of the air might be and how much air we need in our lungs at any given second, we'd hyperventilate and die. But we don't need that. In fact, that's what happens to people that die when they're hyperventilating, is that they're so mentally ill that they begin to concentrate on things that's out of their control, and they don't just put faith and trust and let it go and just relax, and then without thinking about it, they're going to breathe properly. But if you try to breathe properly by your conscious mind, you're going to fail and pass out. But even then, you made that stupid decision not to breathe, or you couldn't breathe, or you forgot how, you're still going to, after you pass out, thank goodness, release your conscious mind and its grip on your life, its evil little egotistical grip. And now that you passed out, you'll be able to breathe again. You can reset. You ain't going to die. Even if you die on this physical earth, you ain't going to die. You get a reset. Your spirit just comes back into another body, and you keep doing this. And it's just an advancing program of life. It's just a journey. You say, why, Dave? I don't understand why. Well, because look at this road here. Why? Because I like roads. And this is my mind manifesting, our collective minds manifesting this beautiful paradise to live in. We don't have to think about it. Subconscious. Okay? This is all part of the subconscious collective reality that comes from this mind. So, what is it that we have to do when it comes to breathing? Well, practically nothing except just walk. By the way, walking helps you to breathe at about 2-3 miles an hour is a natural pace. And we're going to talk about how important that is. The arch pumping the blood, the calf is the other heart that pumps the blood. We have the psoas muscle that connects the upper body with the lower legs that is so important, and all this is crucial. But it cannot function properly unless you naturally do what you were naturally designed to do, and that means walk. Your body was built for walking. You have 2 legs that naturally walk at a certain pace, about 2-3 miles an hour, without any effort or problems, that circulates the blood and causes energy flow, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But it's natural. You want to go see something. Only way to get there is to walk, right? And the Lord and the universe has provided a natural way of locomotion for moving around. We don't go there in the speed of light because that would disrupt the entire plan of adventure and exercise and keeping everything perfect. This is a well-groomed animal here. This is a perfectly tuned clock. We just have to accept that. We don't sit there and look at the clock and wish the hands to move around faster. We have to be patient. That's part of it too. It's all natural. There's nothing you can do about any of this, and there's nothing you'd want to do about any of it. Now, breathing then's natural. Walking is natural to get your proper amounts of breath, to fill the lungs, the deepness of the breath, the filling of the veins, and how often you walk and how often you rest. This is all natural. Circadian rhythms that you will develop once you learn these things. But there is something that we're doing now that's preventing us from getting air, breath, properly. And how could that be if it's just subconscious? Why aren't we just subconsciously doing what we're supposed to do? Because we're not in the natural world. We're in society and we're dying because of it. So if you live in the city, not only is the air polluted, which is very important because the air is so polluted, it's causing lung disease. And of course, if it's causing lung disease, we can't even imagine what harm it's doing to our vital organs. The air has got to get all throughout our cells, and the mechanisms are all screwed up. So you're not getting life. All right, I think that's relatively understandable and easy to understand. Let's go from air. What would be the next one? Well, maybe water. If you don't get water within a few days, you're going to die. Air, a few minutes. Water, a few days. Let's talk about water for a second. Are we responsible for finding water and making sure that the water is pure and making sure the water has got all the minerals in it that it needs? You know, is it something we're supposed to be doing? It's our responsibility, our conscious mind. Got to spend our day trying to filter the water and go look for the clean water and prepare it in some certain manner. No. That would be ridiculous. So why is it that we're not just naturally drinking mineral water? Because we don't live in the world anymore. We live in the cities where we're unnaturally, artificially pumping water into a sewer and then running it through a desalination plant, purifying it or whatever. Now it doesn't have any minerals, but it looks like water, right? At least there's no poisons. Except for the poisons we put back into it, like arsenic and fluoride and all this other stuff, which is designed to kill you. But let's not even get into that part of it. So, you see, already we can see we got to the second constituent of our Constitution, and we've already determined that we cannot live. It's imperative. The two most imperative things that we need to live cannot be found in cities. Cannot be found. Ooh, little twister over there. Huh. I've seen several of them today. Just now in the last 10 minutes. This isn't the most beautiful walk today, but this is just out back behind my house, and you know, I have so many things to do. I don't have time to go looking for a beautiful canyon or something. But anyway, so right there we see that life itself depends on us not living in the city. You say, oh, come on, Dave, we can wear a mask. Okay. Or we can stay indoors and have a $1 billion air conditioning service come in, so we have air. We'll pipe it in, right? We can do it. Well, again, unnatural. You're trying to control things. It's going to lead to failure. You're still going to get asthma, right? You don't even need to smoke to get asthma. You can just breathe the air in a city. So what's next? Because we could go into it deeper, but let's move along here, Dave. We ain't got all day. Okay, so that's two. What's the third one? Diet is probably the third one. And diet is something that, you know, we talked about yesterday. One of the things that we eat about 60% of our diet today is sugars and carbs. And we found out that that is destroying the glycolex, which is a layer around the cells that protects us and gives us immunity to disease. Since it oxidizes the elements and gives energy and life throughout our body and does all kinds of very important things. The nitric oxide. It's a process. It's a little machine. It'd be like if you had a motor and you didn't have any points, or you didn't have a rotor, or you didn't have a thermostat, or simple things, a regulator. None of that is going to. You can't run that machine without all the parts. They're all necessary. And the head cannot say unto the toe, I have no need of thee. So, what do you eat? You find something to eat? I notice he digs down and gets some kind of... He eats greens. So, food, shouldn't be something that we should have to worry about. What are we going to eat? What are we going to put on? Jesus tells us, don't worry about those things. For that's what the rest of the world does. The worldly people who do not know the divine truth. They're in this conscious fear-based mode. They're under the wrong covenant. They're running around, what do we wear? What do we put on? What do we eat? We don't have to do that as children of the Lord. Live by nature. Get out of the controlled environment. Get out from the law. Depart. Don't be like a dog that returns to his vomit. We've been set free. So, naturally, you would wake up in this beautiful world. You see? And this would be the world you'd wake up in because it's the only one we got. Not some contrived New York City, right? That took, hundreds of years to build and is murderous and villainous and corrupt and evil and painful and death. You don't want to live there. Oh, yes, I do. I love cities, David. Oh, I just love the penthouse on top of the world. I have a maid come and bring me all my dinner. Well, what about the maid? Well, I don't care about the maid. She makes money. I give her a tip. Okay. Well, you're not happy. You're going to, even if that pleasure that you're going to have that night is something you enjoy, it ain't going to last. Because you're not worried about others, only yourself, and that is going to lead to disaster. Your body can't function on caviar and, I don't think you're probably eating Twinkies and like a stack of pancakes and blueberry toppings and whatever, sausage and syrup. Wow, that's pretty sweet. Yeah, but that's what you like, right? In the mornings, wake up to pour a bunch of high fructose corn syrup, genetically modified garbage all over your food that's already nothing but white carbohydrate flour. And you're going to do that every day. And for lunch, what are you going to have? Pizza? Same thing. Evil, wicked stuff. What are we going to have for dinner? Oh, lasagna, Dave. I like spaghetti. I want to kill an animal and just rip his legs off and watch the blood spurt all over the place. I can feel the wind. Might be taking my voice away a little bit here. Yeah, I want to rip that animal to shreds and just start gnawing on his flesh. Oh, that would give me a lot of pleasure. Yeah. At least I cook it. I roast the animal alive on a fire, Dave. I ain't crazy. I ain't eating it raw. Well, so we don't have to choose what to eat. Nature provides. And in nature, yeah, this is what you got. You see those little bugs? They're all over the place. What do you call them? Caditas? Or you see them? They're making weird noise. I've never seen these in this part of the woods. I've seen them in Oklahoma, Missouri, and all over the world where there's more moisture and stuff. Caditas, or what do we call them? But they make this weird, crazy cricket sound, loud, and we're having a locust swarm. The plagues are coming, guys. I guarantee it. That's why the dog was probably eating those bugs. And those bugs are probably one source of protein that you could eat. I don't know. But at least the animals probably. I mean, we're given fish. It tells you that in Ezekiel. That in the restored earth, we're going to have fish. And Jesus gave us fish. And the new covenant's not for 1,000 years, it's forever. So we're going to have fish forever, I guess. With the trees of life along the river. And the fishermen along the river banks. And the water shall be purified, it says. We'll eat 12 crops of fruit. In other words, the trees will produce fruit every month, and every month will be a blessing. But if we're going to eat fish, then I imagine a lot of these little insects and things, not the evil ones that bite you and stuff, but the insects are probably there to feed the animals, the birds and things. It's all natural. You don't have to worry about it. They don't have to worry about what to eat or what to put on, because the bird knows how to build its nest, and the fox has a den. And the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. Oh, well, I don't think so. In fact, the Son of Man shall not stumble upon a stone, for the angels will guide him. So yeah, in nature, it's all provided. You taste it and it's bitter, you don't eat it. It's probably an herb for medicine. If it's a nut, you know that's an offspring. That's an energy shared from nature, sharing their energy with you, and you share your love with them, and you say a prayer. The Bible says when we eat, we say a prayer. Our intentions, our love toward that food we're receiving, and we give back. We always give something back. That's nature. You start ripping up all the plants and you'll have nothing to eat next year. So you give back, you plant. You water the garden. You give it a way to survive. The plant itself isn't just one plant. It's a plant that includes, like all the fir trees in the world are one entity. You don't kill a fir tree by killing one fir tree or taking its needles. It's energy. It's vortices of energy we're sharing. We're in a kaleidoscope of love, and we partake of the natural foods, so we don't have to worry about it. Well, it looks like we had a fence that I'm not really prepared to jump right now. So, what should we do? We could cross this fence, is this down, and go back that way. Oh, look at those canyons over there. I'm not going to go that far today. It's not that far, but today I've got a lot of things to do at home, so start heading back. But we just want to finish our story here. So, diet's important, but we don't have to worry about it. If you get out of the city and get out of the market and go into nature and look around, you'll find food, and that's all it is. No rules, just perfect bliss and harmony. But it does tell us that we can't live in the city and be happy or healthy. It's just not possible. So what's next? That's 3. After diet. Well, you might not, I don't know. I might put other things for number 4. And for number 4, I might even put it number 1. But it's crucial, but I don't know that it's immediately as crucial. Because, like you say, without air, in minutes, you're dead. But we do need love. We need happiness. We need each other. Community. Without that, we can't live long. I think that you could live your life without love, but it would turn into a violent mess. You'd be flipping around. You'll be hurting others because you don't know how to love, because no one never showed you. You'd be angry, and you wouldn't be angry if you lived in the real world. There'd be people around. You got here somehow. Your mother, your father, your aunts, uncles, your family, they would all be there. But for some reason, this world we live in has purposely designed it so that your children leave when they get older and go off to university and become, some ambassador, some other country or whatever, and you never see them again. They go off to where the need is greater, right? Where the money's better. They got a job in Philadelphia. Sorry, Mom, we're leaving. And after a while, they end up on drugs. They die, and Mom doesn't even know where they ended up pimping, some girls out or whatever. It's a mess. So community is very important. Sitting around the fire, singing songs, the elders telling the stories. You don't think that's important? Do you realize that I don't even know who my grandma and grandpa are? Like, I've heard my grandfather died the week that I was born, I guess. And he saw me, but I, of course, don't remember him. Through the hospital window, he was in a cancer ward or something. They held me up in the window. But, my family never told me about my dad or my grandpa. They never told me about my grandma. I went to go visit my other grandpa one time, and I remember walking in Palm Springs. And he never even looked at me, never said hello. And, my mother was adamant that he was a good man, he loved her. But as I look at it, I don't see that he showed any love. Even my grandmother never spoke to me. And I used to see her, I saw her several times growing up. She never spoke to me. I don't remember her ever speaking to me. But I know she loved me, because when we'd go to visit, she'd buy us tickets to go to Disneyland, different things, because she wanted me to have some experiences. She knew that I was living in the woods growing up. She felt sorry for me. And I felt that. And I knew that. She gave my mother a car, and she loved us. But as far as sit on the knee, how are you? How was your day? She didn't talk to me. And I never heard her even speak or look at me. And so I don't know my ancestry. I didn't know until just recently. I did a video a while back that I didn't even know that my great-grandfather and my great-great-grandfather and my great-great-great-grandfather all lived in Fiddletown, California, and owned all that area. They each got 600 acres or 60 acres in the mule, or 600. I don't know how big. They got these big areas where I think it was several hundred acres each that the government gave everybody, and they homesteaded it all, and it was thousands of acres. They owned the whole Fiddletown area, as well as the Brockmans, which was my grandmother's side of my dad's side family. And they lived up there too for generations. And so I just recently found, nobody ever told me. I had to look it up. I had to find out my own. So I don't know who any of the, my ancestry, I don't know any of that. Of course, I've done the ancestry, and I found out that I go back to certain lineages and stuff. But as far as knowing anything about who I am or why we're here, whether anyone cared or what they were going to teach us from their wisdom before they died, I didn't hear any of it. That's important. Campfires and singing, lifting up the spirit. People today are singing, but they're singing alone in a car to some kind of satanic rhythm of, I want you, I want your sex, and I want to, hurt somebody, and, biatch, and all these bad words. It's ridiculous the way we're living. Can't do it. You can't live in the city. Well, Dave, I'll keep my radio off and live in the city by myself in a little apartment. Pull the curtains shut and the blinds, and and I'll just listen to Christian music. Well, that's probably not so good either, but living in that dark little apartment in the city, polluted air, having to get your food at the grocery market, which is all poison, that's not going to work. And you're alone, and you need people. You're gregarious, yeah. We're all gregarious, and we need each other. So what's number? Let's see, that's number 5 now we're on. And I'm just guessing at this. We don't. Like I said, we're not going to write this down and sign our signature and all agree to it. We're all silently supposed to agree to all this because it's by nature. So, the singing, the family-orientedness, the elders teaching us about their ways, and the temples that taught us when we're an adult how to be an adult, what to expect when we're married, how to raise children, the purpose of life, joy, family, all of that. But then I would say walking. I mean, sitting and resting, you don't even need anybody to tell you because you're born resting. You're born laying down, right? But as soon as you're strong enough, and by the way, a child, a baby, a year old can squat. They can just walk over, bend down, and squat for long periods of time. Whereas a grown human being in modern times cannot squat. Did you know how important it is that you squat? You can't do that in the city. You imagine a bunch of people walking down Times Square and everybody's sitting around squatting. No, we got benches there, right? It's more convenient, Dave. Well, it's also, there are times when you, like out here in this field, there ain't no bench. And modern people, we don't know what to do. We have to just lay down, and then it's hard to get back up, you know. But you know, you walk up the top of a mountain, you get to the top. It would be the most unthinkable thing in the world for most people to imagine getting to the top of this mountain and then just bending down, squatting like Native Americans used to do, and looking out over the valley. We'd do that for about 5 seconds and we'd say, man, that's uncomfortable. And we'd have to sit down somewhere. We need a backrest or something. Do you know how important it is to squat? It pushes, it makes pressure on the pelvic area and causes blood flow to get into the hip and the pelvis. And that's an area where it's very difficult to get blood flow. So if you don't squat, you're lowering your life expectancy. That's just one of the thousands of things that's going to, you know, like the air, if you don't breathe it, it's only a few minutes, and like we said, but diet, maybe a few weeks. But if you don't squat every day, over time, you're going to lose the function of your body to be able to go into nature and just without pain or suffering and be able to go to the toilet. That's the most anatomical, easiest and healthiest way to go to the toilet is by squatting. It's not good for your health to use a toilet, a modern toilet. Huh. So, I mean, that's just a random thing that we need to do on a regular basis to be healthy, and we don't do it. It's like, can you imagine? I can hear somebody say, we don't need to squat, Dave. That's not important. I don't miss that. Well, do you miss walking, mobility? Do you think somebody in an old folks home that's in a wheelchair misses mobility? Yeah, it's probably important. And if you don't walk every day, you lose the ability to walk. I know some of you think, well, I can walk, but how far? Can you run? Your life expectancy is going to go down if you don't learn to walk every day, at least several miles a day, or at least a couple miles a day. Because when you walk, your body's designed for walking. If you look at the skeletal design, the two legs go one in front of the other, and the foot has an arch, which when you put each foot down one after the other, without running, just naturally 2 miles an hour, it's not overstressing the body or the joints or anything, it's healthy, and the arch is pumping the blood back up the leg. So if you don't walk, it's easy to get blood to the feet, because that's going downhill. But if you don't walk, you don't get the blood back up the leg. And it's important because the flow is circulatory, and it pushes the blood into the pelvis and up through, healthy legs to keep them strong, blood flow, repairing things. But it also provides a little bit of pressure on a nerve that goes down your ankle right into your foot. And that nerve has little nerves that goes to all organs of your body. You read about acupuncture. There's a place on your foot that corresponds to every organ and place in your body. Massaging your foot is working out, is pushing energy through those nerves and exciting the nerve all the way up to that organ. It's like running water through your pipes to keep them running. They don't get full of sludge and dirt. You got to wash them. You have to have flow to keep it moving. So if you don't do this, your nerves become stagnant, and you don't get the energy impulse to your organs and things. They don't function properly. They can't heal. The calf muscle is also, they call it the second heart, because it helps to pump the blood up. And if you don't walk, you don't use it, so you're not pumping the blood. We talked about the psoas muscle, which is going to the spine. It goes over the pelvic region and connects to the leg. And it's very important because it does functions to get that energy and sciatic nerves and all this stuff all the way to the brain, get signals that's appropriate to keep it alive, keep you functioning. And then there's the marrow of the bone. If you go outside, and this is one of the most important things, you need sunshine. And people don't realize that, we've been told that sunshine creates vitamin D3, but we're not usually told just what D3 is. Isn't that it's photons, right? Well, actually, it's just light that goes into your skin through photosynthesis. It changes a particular element that you have in your skin and turns it into another element, and that in turn goes to the DNA and activates, turns on your health. If you don't get the sunshine, all those little DNA things shut off. If you only have a little bit of light, it only activates what's absolutely necessary to live, but then the rest of things, mobility and your hair growth, your nails, your skin, everything starts to deplete. And then once it gets depleted enough, well, you're done. So that's part of it. And we all know about that part. But we don't realize that the sun is going into your bones and storing the energy. So your bones in the marrow have energy that's stored. If you don't go out in the sun for a couple weeks or a month or a year very often, you're depleting your energy storage in the bones, in the marrow. And so it's like running your car without an alternator. The battery at first keeps starting the car. You're running around acting like everything's normal. You have no idea there's anything wrong. You stop, you start, you go, everything's running. You don't know the alternator's not working. Then the next day you get in, turn it over, nothing happens. The battery's dead. You're depleted of energy. You can't function anymore. So with that bone thing, if you were in a dark room and you didn't get any light, I don't know how long you could live. Probably not very long. Maybe some weeks. You'd start deteriorating in months and you die. But let's say that you're not in a dark room. People in prisons probably have this problem. I think it's one of the reasons why they had to allow the prisoners to go outside for an hour every day or something. Which is just barely keep you alive because you're not charging. It's like having a car battery and only charging it for about 10 minutes every day, but using it all day. You'd still deplete your battery. But you can do it longer and they get away with it. Maybe 70 years, right? That's how long people live. And they think, oh, well, that's how long people live. No, your battery's depleted after 70 years because you didn't energize it. You didn't go in the sun every day. You didn't walk barefoot and get the negative ions into your body. You didn't discharge all the negative confusion and you didn't ground yourself. We have no idea just how important that is to our life. We don't think about it. We shouldn't have to. We should be living in a world where we just naturally do all these things. A child jumps up the first chance it gets, even though the child can't walk yet. He's crawling to try and get somewhere. And after a couple of months of crawling, he's starting to learn how to walk because he's determined. He wants to. Nobody has to tell him, this is what you have to do. Kid, you don't start walking, you're going to die, right? No, we don't do that. We just laugh and play and say, oh, you'll be fine. You're so wonderful. You're a wonderful child. I love you. We strengthen them. We share our energy. We give them of ourselves. And they give back. And when they're happy, they're running and playing. And that's health. If they're not happy, they're sitting in a corner, sucking their thumb. They don't speak. They don't talk. I spent my entire life never speaking to adults. I was never allowed to really, I didn't feel like I was worthy of the other people that were so amazing. I was supposed to be quiet and sit in a corner. I was well into my adult years before I could even talk to people. Now I give public discourses like an hour almost every day. And I'm able to communicate quite well, and I'm not shy anymore. My mother was by nature not shy. I think I got some of that from her, but I watched my mother interact with people and laugh and get along with others at the Kingdom Hall and everything. So I learned some communication, but I never practiced it. I just walked in between mom and dad and watched them interact and never said a word because I was just a kid. My mouth was to remain closed. I was taught, though, from the time I was 6, to do public speaking. It was very hard, but I saw my dad doing it, and I was taught that that was what we were supposed to do, and I was able to do that. I wasn't shy about getting up on a stage necessarily as much as you would think at 6. But I couldn't date when I was a teenager. I didn't know how to talk to a girl. I didn't know how to make friends. I thought everybody was looking at me. I didn't know how to put my hands. I thought I looked silly just standing there, so I would go hide somewhere at school. At school, because I only went to the 5th grade. Never went past that. But I remember in grammar school, in grade school, growing up, I would spend my time. I hated recess because that meant that I'd have to go outside and be with the other kids, and they would see how stupid I was, and I couldn't communicate, and I felt so uncomfortable. So I would go out into the playground and find some place like in the corner around the ledge of the school building or something where nobody could really see me from the playground, and I would sit there alone because I was afraid to talk to the other kids. It's important. Those are important things. We need each other. We need community. But we don't need regimentariness, which is what the kids are getting in school, and teaching them immorality and patriotism. And we got to go to war, and the earth is round and spinning through space in a vacuum of nothing, and there is no deity, and it's all evolution and Darwin and Freud, and yeah, no, we don't need that. But, so community is very important. And walking. When you walk, the pressure that you apply on your foot to your bottom of your foot goes into your bones. They call it physiology, or I forgot the word. Anyway, it sends electrical currents through your bones, little crystal chips. And it activates those little chips. Energy, or piezoelectric. Sensation, which is energy. Electrical current runs up your foot, throughout your entire body, through the bone. If you don't walk, you don't get that activation, the crystal activation that activates the DNA in your bones, the light that's stored there, the energy, the battery. So you got to have the sunshine to get the energy stored to be efficient. And you need the walking for the blood flow, the energy flow, and the energy activation. And without that, you might think, well, I've been doing it, this city life, for 20 years, Dave, and I'm still alive. And I don't feel that bad. And by the way, I do go to the gym every day. Well, that's not the same. The gym is artificial, and it's not going to activate the arc of the foot to cause the energy to go up through the organs. It's not going to activate the calf or the psoas nerve or the crystal activation of the battery and in the marrow. It's not going to awaken or activate all of the gene code to give you healthy skin, hair, and happiness, by the way. All of this is leading up to happiness, joy. Serotonin, which is produced in your gut. And if you don't have the light from the sun, and all the stuff that we mentioned, you don't have serotonin, which then is a thing that turns into melatonin at night, which without that you can't sleep and repair the body, and on and on and on. You can't live in a stressed out situation for very long before you're depleted in some way. And it may take several years to be completely depleted. The thing of it is, most people get some sunshine. They walk sometimes. They do some of these things. And that's why we only live 70 years, is because we're only doing enough to live that long. If we were to live in nature, we would walk every day. We'd eat the right foods. We'd have community. We'd have love. We'd tell stories. We'd sit around the campfire. We'd sing songs. We'd breathe fresh air. And we'd have eternal life. And man, it's getting hot out here. I waited too late to go on this walk. So it's getting kind of hot. Go up here to this tree in the shade for a second. See where we're at. Because I don't know how long I've been talking. Berry's hot too, huh? Let's go here. Whew. Boy, the temperature just drops when you get under this tree. Oh, I got to squat now, huh? We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. But I think I'm going to leave it here and bid you adieu, because we're well over an hour. And I'm going to get this loaded and get some other things done. I got to water the garden, and I built a pigeon aviary yesterday or day before. And I didn't buy the pigeons, I caught them. I caught them. I'm going to try and catch some more. But the two I have, I hope it's a male and a female. It might be. I want to raise them. Not to eat. I'm not going to eat the animals. But they're homing pigeons. They're to communicate. When things go down, we're going to need a way to communicate, guys. This is the natural order. Dogs herd sheep. Cats. Remember I had the mice problem and the squirrels were eating my garden? No more. I have this beautiful cat that the Lord gave me, the perfect color that I wanted and everything. I asked the Lord, and here comes this little orange cat. It's the most beautiful cat I've ever seen. And then like, okay, yeah, but I need more than one, because I live here on a farm and I got all these mice and squirrels and rabbits and everything trying to eat my garden. Lizards, moles. And I'll be darned, I had the cat no more than 2-3 months. And now she's pregnant. She's had 7 babies. They're beautiful. And I don't know how she got pregnant, because there's no cats around here that I've ever seen. But anywho, I got 8 cats now. I got 8 ducks. And I found out that ducks, the eggs are way better than the chicken eggs. Did you know that the duck egg has more vitamin B12 in one egg than is required for any human being, any adult? It gives you all your B12 that you could possibly need. And a lot of other things that's very important, you know, omega-6, all the, you know, perfect protein, all the amino acids, cholesterol, vitamin A, vitamin E. Amazing, amazing food right there. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Get back, water the garden, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. You know the Lord loves you. His grace and His peace will be with you. I'm Buffy. Yeah, that's my Buffy dog, huh? See you later, guys.